But maybe Zainal, tell us a little bit about yourself. And as we start, tell us on how you got to where you got to. I mean, you were in Exxon-Mobil, then you ran a Malaysian company, and now you're on almost a startup stage of an organization. Tell us about your evolution and some of the lessons learned from your life.
I think first, when I think about my history, I come from a generation where when we graduate, we choose to join big companies. And it's a very conscious decision when we make that choice. It's a company that you're going to stay till you retire. So when I graduated from Australia, I chose to join Exxon-Mobil and had always planned to stay till I retire. And Exxon-Mobil is a very big company. I started in Malaysia, and I actually started as a field engineer, graduating in civil engineering, but assigned to work with a driller, which is Mat Saleh, a very an American guy.
But not Belgian, right?
Not Belgian, it's an American. And every second word is a four-letter word, you know. And it's a very rough environment, oil and gas industry during the early days. And it's almost like not so much the technical know-how, but almost, because you are a field engineer, it's a character building for me. Being trained as academically inclined kind of environment coming from university, suddenly you come to work, actually running logging too, working for a Schlumberger crew, which is a contractor for Exxon-Mobil. So I was a company rep. I know zero about production logging when I was assigned my first job. I have to wear a yellow coverall, and people know I'm a rookie because my coverall is clean. Whereas everybody else was like a lot of grease and dirt, you know. So I mean, so it was a character building kind of big time, and almost like not so much a technical know-how, but this agility to learn and pick up basically from nothing, you know. Then I realized that you know, when you come from a small village, a kampung boy, born in a house without electricity and water supply, went to Australia to graduate in civil engineering, and you felt good about that qualification. But when you join a big company, your academic qualification is nothing. It's just a passport to enter, but your history at the point of time is irrelevant. It's like at that point of time, you just have to learn on the job. So that's my first kind of introduction to the real world.
But somehow you managed to navigate through Exxon-Mobil quite well and get promoted so many times.
Yeah, I think I was there 28 years, and I changed job 15 times within the same company. So I changed every 2 years. And Exxon-Mobil, like any multinational, just like Unilever and big others, they identify high potential candidate very early. They kind of flag you, they tag you, they bucket you, and they designed a series of job moves to torture you intellectually. And they call it moments of truth, when they push you to certain job to do. And I can tell you, I was struggling all the time. Suddenly, I have a new team, a new job, new role, new office, you know. And but it is character building kind of big time, you know. And so I took the opportunity to always kind of move forward and kind of learn and adjust. So I think that's one of the things that I strongly promote. When you come up and start your own company and have venture, which I admire your courage, listening, looking for signs to be the guidepost to change course, you know, to pick up is very important. You do not be too confident that you know everything. The reality is that you do not know a lot. I certainly learned the hard way. Feeling confident after having qualified as a civil engineer, now working for an oil company, and they don't give a damn what qualification you have. It's all about the job. Every day is important. Yesterday is history. It's all about today, especially if you're assigned in the field. So that's kind of one of the things. Coming from a Malaysian Malay family, you know, where I'm the first generation that actually pick up university degree from my family and my large uncles and cousins. So I mean, it's actually a big step up for me.
And how did that lead to, you went to the US for a number of years, running some plants over there. How do you transition back from US back to Malaysia, and how did that whole opportunity in Malakoff come about?
Before I talked about that, I just want to describe working with a multinational in Malaysia first. You know, I was the first Malaysian that replaced an engineering manager who had been an American or for an expatriate for many years. You know, so I'm literally the first Malaysian to fill an expatriate job, and suddenly I got a large team of 200 engineers in geoscience, and some of them are expatriate. They are in salary grade much senior me, know a lot more things than me. But I'm still young, Chiku, at 33 years old. So you just imagine the burden of reputation in terms of what you need to do to be seen as credible. So that's one of the things that I learned, that you kind of like, when you're given that moments of truth, you know that you'll be imperfect, but don't get that kind of bogged down. So I think kind of move forward. So as I move forward in the career, so I mean, I kind of progressed in Exxon-Mobil, and I can tell you this, that I was work in progress every day, every time I change job. So when I do decide to leave Exxon-Mobil, it was actually triggered by a life-changing experience for me. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I come from a small village. I'm the eldest in the family. And in my family, they don't call me by name. They don't call me Zainal, they call me Long. Long comes from the word Sulong, mean eldest boy. So my father passed away suddenly, was overseas, and my mother is alone. My mother is illiterate. She cannot read Rumi. She's trained in Jawi. And because we were born in Johor, so we go to this school system, Sekolah Ugama, So I knew that my mother don't drive, don't have banking, and now she's alone. So my brother is in Bangladesh, working for Axiata International, and I was overseas in Houston. So both of us decided to come home. So I resigned from Exxon and came home to become Malakoff CEO. So in other words, it wasn't by choice that I joined Malakoff. In that sense, it was a trigger of a personal situation. But because I was trained to adjust and seize any given opportunity at any point of time, it was not difficult for me to make the transition.
But I think what's more impressive is Malakoff is a very local company before you came in.
Sure.
The moment you came in, you made it a global company. How did you do that?
Yeah, I think one thing that you realize, while I chose to join Malakoff, I was headhunted by Egon Zehner with an interview in the United States. So I did some research, and Malakoff had a very good franchise. I think like all Malaysian companies during the early days of the power industry, they won project through direct nego or through direct government award. But I know I was ready for international tender in Malaysia. So I was the first CEO for Malakoff where we participate in a local international tender. And that excites me actually because Malakoff as a company have a lot of people from Tenaga who left Tenaga and actually now build and run the power plant. And the technology they use are kind of world class. They are GE or Sumitomo Aichai or Alstom. So you know that they have a business model with the capability they have that's scalable globally. If you are able to build a plant and operate in Malaysia using world class technology, no reason for you to go to global. So when I came back, I got the board support, and they of course, they hunted me, specifically to bring it international circuit and to pass the international tender. So I came back, and it wasn't me who direct Malakoff to go international. It's actually an inherent capability that had been hidden for quite some time. It just don't take a lot to actually unlock that potential. So we did participate. We won in Oman, we won in Bahrain, we lost in Kuwait, we lost international tender in Malaysia through 1MDB, and you probably know why. We won also the largest wind farm in Australia called MacArthur, not far in Hamilton, in Victoria, also through international tender. And that's not me, it's just happen to be the CEO at the time when there is hunger for international expansion, supported by the pension fund, EPF and Co-op, which are the shareholders in Malakoff at the time. But the capability is actually there. But one thing that I realized, coming from, if you look at me, I'm a Malaysian and typical Malay. When I come back, all my past 10 years in Exxon-Mobil internationally, when I have employee forum, I'm the only Malaysian. There are Angolan, Nigerian, Norwegian, or German, or American workers for Exxon-Mobil. But when I come back, suddenly in the employee forum in Malakoff, it's all Malaysian, 95% Malay, but they don't look me as a typical Malay. And it's difficult for me, actually. I find the transition going back to Malakoff, coming from a big company, having worked overseas, is a big personal challenge for me. I think I've always advocate for any big multinational. Culture drives long-term performance of any company. You must have the right standard operating practice. And a lot of multinational, they put a lot of emphasis on culture. All leaders are trained to actually be the champion of the culture. So when I come back, you find that Malakoff, as a Malaysian company, workflow around relationship. And because of that, there are a lot of degree of ambiguity. For Exxon-Mobil, being an American company, we have a Department of Justice Oversight. FPCA is a big deal. This entails strong governance. So we always operate in a white area. If we happen to work in a gray area where there's ambiguity, we try to operationalize it so that it moves to a white area. But in Malaysia, a lot of companies work in a gray area with a high degree of flexibility and workflow around its process-driven workflow. If you stay in the gray area for too long, it becomes black. So I'm a bit concerned actually when I was, I was trying to make some changes, but you have to have a supporting cast. One of the things that is quite normal for Malaysian CEO, when you come to a big company, Malaysian company, you always bring your lieutenant around. I chose to arrive Malakoff and arrive alone. Maybe it was a bad decision, it was a struggle, but it's like everything else. You adjust to the circumstance at a point of time. I had 3 great years. I did what I can do in Malakoff.
I think the record shows you grew it globally and so on. But the next transition, and maybe we'll end here, is interesting. You decided to join a startup.
Yeah.
Tell us about that decision and how a big multinational guy is now in a startup.
When I left Malakoff, I was without job for a couple of months. And at the time, I was interested to launch a SPAC. SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company. Hibiscus was the first one. I got friends in Hibiscus. Sona was the second one. There are a couple of SPACs being formulated. Some have not been approved. So I formed a team, talked to a banker, and about ready to launch SPAC. Then I found the rules are a little bit cumbersome and it's difficult. And I don't have the stomach, not having the political muscle to beg for approval from SC for the SPAC that I'm forming. So I chose to abort that idea and found a couple of investors who are coming in to take over a government-linked company called Time Engineering through an open tender. So they got in, and they want to transform the company and to have an energy spin. At that time, oil and gas is the hot potato. It's a good thing to be in. So they headhunted me, so they brought me in, and I became an accidental entrepreneur, to be frank with you. So in many ways, for this particular program, I can tell you I'm going to learn a lot more from you than you learning from me, because I'm still work in progress. But let's make that two-way dialogue. So when I took over Time Engineering, we renamed as DNeX because Khazanah didn't allow us to keep the name Time because there are a lot of other time companies. And so that's still kind of work in progress. So I'm looking forward to have conversation with you 3 months from today to see how far we have progressed that. But to this point, we have acquired an asset in the North Sea in UK, and we have launched a directional drilling services, and our competitor is Schlumberger, Halliburton, and Baker Hughes. We are the first Malaysian company that actually launched its directional drilling. It's highly specialized services, and we bought the tool from Baker Hughes. We hire a lot of ex-Schlumberger directional drillers. There are a lot of Malaysians who have worked in Russia, in Sudan, in Iraq, which have been laid off under the current market downturn. So we took them in. We have the people, we have the tools, and we have the know-how. We get qualified to bid for international tender in Petronas, so we have won our first contract. So that's still work in progress. And one of the things that remains concern to me is that this building block from DNeX today looks good on paper, but what is the biggest issue is how to actually make it sustainable going forward. And the key thing is the operating culture. Remain a big concern for me. And I've not worked hard on that because as a group MD, you're just busy doing the corporate exercise, the reverse takeover and all those things. But going forward, that will be my next priority. Okay. So
in maybe the last 30 seconds, what advice would you give to the CEOs in this room?
Being a Malay, your natural tendency is to be nice. And natural tendency, and being a Malaysian as well. And one thing that I got advice from an American colleague who see me as a person, he says, Zainal, always be gracious people, but be brutal in achieving results. Be brutal in achieving results. And I think that advice is good advice. Be gracious people, but be brutal in achieving results. I think I want to share that with you because I've learned the hard way what that means, but being achievement-oriented, result-driven, I speak in the context of you having a stake in your business. That is very important, but never lose sight or the people that support you.
All right.
Right.
Thank you, Zainal. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Yeah.